Elden Ring released and became one of the hardest video games in a long time for many. These games are known for being hard, and this comes from the same developers as Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. Because of how hard this game can be, we are going to talk about the hardest and most insane fights in the game. Stay tuned to today's video as we are going to discuss the most insane fights in Elden Ring Ranked. Starting off at number 12, Full-Grown Falling Star Beast. Whilst you may have fought many of these Falling Star Beasts throughout the game in dungeons or out in the open world, the full-grown Falling Star Beast is easily the hardest of them all. From its super aggressive nature to its insane damage numbers, this beast isn't an easy fight. Mages can do super well against this boss, but any full melee build might have had a harder time than others. This is all combined by a Grace miles away, so if you die, it's going to take a while to get back. Luckily, this beast guards the path to the Volcano Manor, a very important and great area in Elden Ring. So overall, this fight is worth beating. However, you can skip him by just ignoring the beast and riding past him. Next, we have number 11, Dragon Lord Plasudasax. This is one of the many secret bosses in Elden Ring and is actually the hardest to find. You will find this boss before fighting Malekith the Black Blade. There is a grave in a part of the map. Get into that grave and you will be transported to this insane boss fight. This fight isn't all too hard. In fact, it's probably one of the easiest secret bosses in the entire game. This dragon may be huge, but his attacks are easy to avoid, and as long as you have good damage and a bunch of flasks, you're going to be fine. Aside from this, Plasudasax is one of the coolest bosses in the entire game. He sits above the arena in such an amazing way, and his fight is just magnificent. Now on to number 10, Black Blade Kindred. This is one of those bosses that Elden Ring throws at you early if you take the teleporter to the beast's location. This is an entirely optional boss fight, but many attacked this thing without even thinking. This is a boss with insane damage and really quick moves. He's going to be super hard no matter where you are in the game when you choose to fight him. Let us know when and how you encountered the Black Blade Kindred during your Elden Ring run. Up next, number 9, Fire Giant. Usually the biggest bosses in the Soulsborne franchise are known as gimmick fights. They are fights that the game usually throws a new mechanic at and allows the player to destroy it with ease. Elden has a fight like this, but this one isn't that. The Fire Giant is a boss guarding the final sections of the game, and he is a hard one. Though he is large and seems slow at first, his attacks do insane damage, and his second phase stops you from sitting underneath him with a melee weapon. This fight was hard for many, and marked the start of some truly hard bosses in Elden Ring. Coming up, number 8, Margot the Omen King. Whilst Margit is seen as a tough fight for the first boss in this game, his later version, Margot, is even harder. Margot is a super-powered version of Margit with an entire new moveset in his second phase. This fight starts off super easy, as he just has Margit's moveset with some more damage, but get him to half health and you will feel some pain. Magic and ranged builds might not have had a hard time with Margot, as he takes a lot of damage as he stands still. Melee builds had a hard time because you cannot get next to him during second phase moves. How did you feel about Margot? Let us know down in the comment section below. Now for number 7, Astel, Natural Born of the Void. Astel is one of the coolest looking bosses in the entire game, as the arena and his moves are incredible. This fight may be super hard, but at least it's really nice to look at. The galaxy-based moveset that Astel looks incredible, but it's really hard to fight against. From an instant kill grab to a high damage teleport and slam combo, Astel is one of the most incredible yet hardest bosses in the entire game. It's one of the best bosses that From Software have ever created, and one of the coolest in the entire series. Up next is number 6, Godfrey, First Elden Lord, Horaluk's Warrior. Despite defeating a yellow ghost version of Godfrey earlier in the game, when you meet the real Godfrey at the end of the game, things get crazy. His first phase isn't the hardest thing in the world. He has a lot of slams that you either need to dodge or jump over. His damage is really high and his range is superb. However, he takes a lot of damage from melee and magic alike. It's when you get to his second phase, Horaluk's Warrior, that things get crazy. Godfrey turns into a WWE wrestler and starts throwing you around and slamming you with his hands. He goes crazy mode and starts to not chill out at any point in the fight. You need to be on your toes the entire time. And now, number 5, Commander Niall. During my playthrough of Elden Ring, Commander Niall wasn't the hardest thing in the world, but many players complain about his high damage and the enemies he spawns at the start of the fight. Niall has really high damage and controls the stage you fight him in. He goes from ice winds to lightning storms in a matter of seconds, and you need to pay attention to his moves. His slam is the easiest thing to punish, but even then, you will only get a few hits in. This one is hard for many. many. Next we have number 4, Mog, Lord of Blood. Mog may be a fight that many players have found a way to cheese and win without even a fight, but for many during the first week of release, Mog was super difficult. His moves weren't the hardest to avoid, but his damage and arena control was the problem. He put out blood flames that destroyed the player, and his unstoppable Nile move was what halted progression in many Elden Ring players. Defeating him was a great moment for many players as his damage was just insane. Having a lot of flasks and good armor really helps you in this match. At number 3, Star Scourge Radon. At the launch of Elden Ring, Radon was easily the second hardest fighter in the entire game. His insanely high damage and massive arena was what made him difficult. You may have had your friends from throughout the game to help you out, but that only made things a little easier. Players who finally defeat Radon were created with one of the coolest cutscenes in the entire game and the continuation of the secret side of Elden Ring. Nowadays, Radon isn't as hard, as the developers nerfed his damage and range. Defeating him is still a huge accomplishment for any player. Now for number 2, Godskin Duo. Godskin Duo is the second hardest fight in the entire game and marked a breaking point for many Elden Ring players. This fight is just insane, but a really cool version of these two separate enemies you have defeated before. These two share one health bar, and they resurrect one another if the health isn't empty. Their constant barrage of high damage attacks combined with a very compact arena really make these two an incredibly hard matchup for any player of Elden Ring. Many players despite this fight because of their builds. Any ranged build with high damage and a mimic should destroy these two. In fact, I beat this boss with the Moonlight Greatsword and my mimic with ease. You can beat this boss, Elden Ring players. Just keep at it until you finally beat these two monsters. And finally, at number 1, Malenia Blade of Miquella, Malenia Goddess of Rot. Here we are, at the most insane and hardest fight in all of Elden Ring. Surprisingly, it's not the final two bosses, but Malenia. Many players might not even know this boss exists because she is a part of a secret area in the game. Reaching Malenia is the easy part. Defeating her is a struggle. When you first get into this arena, she is really cool, with super sweepy and elegant animations fit for the Blade of Miquella. However, once you hit her and she lands another move on you, it sets in. Paying attention to Malenia's health bar, and you realize that she regenerated health as she hit you. This paired with an almost undodgeable slash move straight out of an anime, and the first phase is already near unbeatable. If you manage to get her into the second phase, the Goddess of Rot appears. She is a harder version of the first phase, and again, the hardest boss in the game. Let us know if you defeated her or not down in the comments section below. And that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on. Thanks for watching. Bye!